all of you are here tonight, I think it's appropriate for me to say, Amanle, long live Winnie Mandela.
Long live.
Amanle, long live Nelson Mandela. Long live Aldo Tambo. Keep hope alive. Love you guys. I am delighted to be home with you tonight. I've been misled again by Dr. McKee. We're going to have a round table meeting tonight with a few friends of his. Here you are, and here I am in the lion's den. I want to make certain that we get these words correct, because one of our friends back in New York was saying he knew about this guy Mandela and this lady Mandela, but the most popular guy in South Africa is the guy Manley. The other one was trying to find out who working on their Swahili words. They Soweto, Soweto. So we went through Soweto, Southwest Township, so we're learning. Let me express my delight in being home tonight. First introduce my companion of 55 years, Jackie LaJackson, my wife. Please stand. Our International Affairs Director from the Gambia, James Gomez. Where's James? We give James a hand. He may have gone back home. I want to talk tonight, and I'm anxious, Dr. Nicola, for the dialogue because of the parallels in our struggle, which we must grapple with tonight as we go to the next stage of the struggle. Dr. King's last book is where we go from here. We must start from here before we go to the where. In the 1600s, South Africans were being traded across the ocean to Brazil, going upward toward North America. We were being traded from the West Africa across to the Carolinas and Virginia and Louisiana. So we went through this slave trade parallel. Then after 1,200 years of that, next year will be 400 years of African Americans landed in America on the first slave ship, 1619. Next year will be our 400th year. The next stage from slavery was the period of apartheid. 1896 became the legal apartheid law in America. That became the law in 1948 in South Africa, parallel. Then we came into the apartheid of the segregation season, and we had a global commitment to end apartheid or segregation in America. So our generation was jailed and did our demonstrating. At some point in time, as we ceased to become strangers, we helped each other in these parallel systems. At the turn of the century, after 246 years of legal slavery, and there were global movements, abolitionists. Some South Africans came to America, some studying theology at Yale. They heard the Book of Washington and Du Bois. They came south, looked at the model of Tuskegee Institute, came home and they formed Fort Hare. Those connections go back a half century. As we look at the four stages of our struggle, and they're so much like those here as we got to connect it, 246 years of legal slavery. It was not just European invasion, it was slave trade. Some of our people were involved in the trading, as well as some others were being traded, which means that sin is deeper than skin, and values matter, and character matters. No one has the right to sell anybody based upon their kinship. And so, 246 years of slavery. When the Declaration of Independence occurred in 1776, We had been in slavery for 157 years. When the Constitution was written 9 years later, the big debate was how would they handle us, who had been the foundation of that society. 3/5 human being is what determined we would be. And they created this formula, 3/5. And when the war was over, states control labor, education, and health, and politics. Sure, the connection when Gore beat Bush in 2000. When Bush was ahead by 537 votes, the state stopped the count. 27,000 African Americans uncounted. That's how he won, because of African Americans uncounted the vote in 2000. Last campaign, Hillary Clinton won by 3 million votes. On the notion of electoral college, which was a slave formula, she lost based on the slave formula of electoral college. There's nothing sound about a one-person, one-vote democracy with one with 3 million vote plurality loses the campaign. It shows the lineage and the connection. 246 years of legal slavery. Cotton was king around the world. France depended upon it, and Britain. The South was about to break away and start its own country. It broke away and the shot was fired. They were about to win the war. And Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation. First time the full executive and the military freed that many African people to join the Union Army to defeat the South and to end slavery in 1863 by executive order. 1865, the 13th Amendment was passed, but that was less stringent than was the Emancipation Proclamation. It said all were free except prisoners, which laid the groundwork for prison labor for another 100 years. Slavery was not as violent for us as segregation was, apartheid. In slavery, they wanted slave men to make love or sex with other black women to make other little slaves. Couldn't legally marry. You make babies and they would be sold. They were strong enough. They would work in the field or be sold. In a week they would die. These illicit arrangement of families. There were no cases of rape during 246 years. You cannot rape your commodity. You can't rape your property. Very few killings, except if one were caught leaving, trying to run away from the plantation, and the dogs taught you. You could be killed to make an example to the others. The only way a white person goes to jail was to be caught teaching a black how to read or write. Strong minds break strong chains. Strong minds break strong chains. When that season was over, stage one, slavery, apartheid succeeded it. The masters of slavery inherited the right to segregate, separate, to exploit. 1880 to 1950, 5,000 blacks were lynched without an indictment. Many lynchings took place after church on Sunday. They would go in to the lynching party if they were advertised in the paper and come back and finish worshiping. A misappropriation of the Christian faith. It was not Christianity, that was terrorism. The next stage was the right to vote. Finally, 1965, 346 years later. We can be out of slavery, out of apartheid, have the right to vote, and starve to death without the fourth stage. Access to capital, industry, technology, and deal flow. So access to capital, industry, technology, and deal flow. So with all of the glories of our development over our 346 years sojourn, be 399 this year, Dr. King killed April 4th, 1968, commemorating that event here when it made a transition April the 2nd, while celebrating the 100th anniversary of the birthday of Nelson Mandela. So all that got connected when Dr. King and Nelson became a fixture in our celebration and commemoration just a few days ago. An African-American president. From the balcony in Memphis where Dr. King was killed, balcony of the White House, an African-American president. That's still stage 3. When your plane arrives in Atlanta, Georgia, non-stop from Joburg, or New York, or Chicago, or LA, not a single downtown building built by African Americans. I think we leave and go from here to Joburg to Pretoria, Cape Town, same statement. What's going on here? Frustration free. When the political system was over, when we ended segregation, black people got freer and American white folks got richer. Because when the segregation struggles ended in the South, you could begin to invest in the South without the repercussions of the struggle. So you who are familiar with America, you go from Washington south to Florida across to Texas, you see huge development. There are no constraints in investing in white America. Dr. King gave a speech in Washington in 1963, the I Have a Dream speech it's called. My wife reminds us tonight what was missed was bounce check mark insufficient funds, the promise of freedom without repair for damage done. Free without repair for damage done. Freedom without repair. The day he gave that speech from Florida across to Texas up to Maryland, we couldn't use a single public toilet. We can take a picture on the lawn of the state capitol across the South. Black and brown soldiers had to sit behind Nazi prisoners of war on American military bases. The day he gave that speech. We won the battle against apartheid, political apartheid. Won the battle for the right to vote. Tonight, 54% of all African Americans make less than $15 an hour, which is poverty wages in America. And the other are debt slaves. They got more credit, but with the credit they get cars they cannot afford, housing, clothes, so they have wages without wealth. Because wealth is what is over after you finish paying off your debt. That means somewhere between the working poor and the debt slaves, relatively little progress is made. So bear with me for a minute on this, because I think it's critical that we see where we are tonight, here and where we are in America. Whites, richer, blacks, freer. I heard somewhere the other day that 4% of the land is owned by black Africans. I heard that a rumor. Free but denied access to capital, banks, insurance, ownership of mass media, universal access, shipping and logistics, international trade, risk capital, athletic teams, marketing, mining, aeronautics. Don't be too hard on those who have not achieved that yet. The last generation's struggle was to end the struggle for freedom. Say freedom. Freedom was not our goal. Freedom was not. We had to get free to get equal. That generation got free, and you got to fight for equality. And many of our freedom allies will not be our equality allies. Whites do not want blacks on Robben Island tonight. Interferes with trade. Whites do not want another Sharpsville massacre in South Africa. Interferes with trade. So with the walls down and the struggle and the resistance down, the investments coming, but invest in the minority regime. I hope I'm getting through to somebody here. When I was here in 1979, there was political apartheid. Same kind of left in America, political apartheid, horizontal political apartheid, separated by race, sidewalks and toilets and libraries and schools. Now it's economic apartheid, which is vertical. We can go to the rugby game together, we count on the rugby team. African Americans are dominant in American football. 80% of all the players are African American. 32 teams, we own 0. We're going from picking cotton balls to picking footballs and basketballs. Whites in America can get more money on an idea than we can get on collateral. They say, well, you know, there's X amount of traffic on that corner, and it'd be a good place for a hotel. And we need X millions of dollars for that hotel, and so we build a hotel on an idea. We can't use collateral to get that same space. 4th stage of our struggle. The weapons that we fought to end apartheid with political must now be used to apply to economic apartheid. Freedom and equality are different issues. We're free, say free, but not equal. When Julius said the other day at the funeral about nationalization, people started ducking and dodging. You're going to democratize the economy or nationalize it. I'd rather democratize it. But I will not accept the status quo as it is on no terms. Rich soil, poor people. South Africa's too rich to have homeless people. The mines belong to all of us. I talked to a woman down in the Cape Town a couple years ago. She was over I was there with Dr. McKeezy. She was down there with, she was over the shipping industry and the maritime work. She said, I'm over all the ships, but we don't have a ship in the port. Politically, she was over the shipping rules, but didn't have any ships. To have a black politician over the banking community without a bank, it's interesting. While all the excitement in America tonight is about the role that Winnie Mandela played in that struggle, this phase of our struggle, New York Times came with a big article attacking ANC of all the times. What that says is that you still have to have access to control of imagery and media. Appraisal power, we call it. If you were to buy your spouse an extremely valuable ring, she's excited because you bought it. You broke but feel good about it because she's excited. Someone said, before you lose that ring, or before it's stolen, go downtown and get it appraised. Someone will close one eye. So I see a flaw. That ring is worth 25, not 50. How much you protest will be insured at the appraised value. Or it may say, well, this is unusual. This is worth 100,000. Power is in the eye of the appraiser. So if you don't have the right to control the daily imagery, if you don't have appraisal power, even political power can be neutralized because political power in some sense is set by the images of appraisal power. I came in 1979. Most folk had no idea who Nelson Mandela was. A few of us did. We studied a little bit. Thabo and Becky, Sisulu. A few of us knew Tambo over in Zambia, or driving around the world trying to keep ANC together. Knew a little bit about Mbeki, who was in Europe in school studying. Johnny McAtini called Tambo, got me permission to get into the country so I could get an assessment of what was going on the ground. Tambo and others in exile, Nelson had group in Robbins Island, one light in the darkness. One light. Winnie Mandela. She sat through the Reverend trial with her two babies, watching a daddy they would perhaps never see again. She didn't go into a corner as a beautiful woman she was and be some kind of maid or model. She chose to be a freedom fighter. It's her choice. We didn't know Mandela because we saw his face for 27 years. We didn't hear his voice for 27 years. We knew he was alive because his heart was beating. The Mandela heart was beating. But that was Winnie's heart. Couldn't hear her. He couldn't hear his heart. He was on Robbins Island. This woman, she tried to see me when I came in 79. She was banished. Sent me a note by way of a woman in solitary confinement for a year plus, a praise as unworthy, and the most literate among you believed it. If all the lights in this room are out tonight, one light will challenge all the darkness. God gave Moses' mother a leader. Jesus' mother, Savior. He gave Winnie a nation. She birthed a nation. You can't honor her enough. You cannot let the appraiser define who she is for you. You must have the right to appraise. Someone said today, my wife went to the store looking for Kruger Ranch. So we can't use Kruger Ranch. Kruger Ranch, slave master's picture on it. It wasn't his gold, just his image. Your gold, ain't no Kruger gold, South African gold, your gold. In this stage, we've got to redefine the next level of our struggle. And we can talk more about Q&A because I'm overwhelmed by the fact that now we have freedom without equality, that we're not properly appraising the value of each other until this obituary column, until this obituary time. Dr. King, we love marchers. We love martyrs. We don't love martyrs. So we love martyrs, but not marchers. We love martyrs, but not marches. Dr. King, the week before he was killed, he was 52% negative among blacks. 72% negative among whites. Appraisals. Because he took a position against the Vietnam War that didn't make sense and had no moral foundation. Blacks said, well, we're trying to make a living. He talking about the war in Vietnam. The living they were trying to make was being dropped and killing 3 million people in Vietnam. The war on poverty money was going for the war on killing. We just shift from killing to healing. For that, he was, now April 5th, the day after he was killed, he was everybody's hero. We love martyrs, not marchers. Last week, Winnie, and so forth, and Winnie, but, today, everybody, she's all our mother today. But don't complain about her stripes, because by her stripes we're healed. That's what the master said. By stripes, by her suffering, pre-suffering, suffering breeds character. Character breeds faith. In the end, faith prevail. We sit here tonight honoring those on Reverend Island because the light was not Cape Town lights, it was Winter's light that lit up Reverend Island. My last point would be this. When I look at your rugby team, American football teams, why are we so good at what's hard? It's hard to be a professional rugby player, one of the best in the world, right? Or soccer player. Hard to be a professional. Say whenever the playing field is even and the rules are public and the goals are clear, the referee is fair, the score is transparent, we can make it. Access, healthcare, playing field, not even. Access to banking and lending, playing field, not even. International trade, playing field, not even. Therefore, you don't get equal results. So this stage we struggle today to even the playing field. Now, there are some laws involved in that tonight. On this note here, if you who have been blessed to get some education above and beyond the past, if you spend more than you have and vote less than you have, that's a formula for suicide. If you spend more than you have and vote less than you have, that's suicide. You must spend less than you have and vote all you can. Well, back to America. 4 million African Americans in the South unregistered. Tonight, 2.5 million who were registered didn't vote. Some margin of defeat or victory. So no one has the right to expect the best and do less than their best. Less than your best, less than your best is a sin. Wages of sin is death. And so tonight I make this case to you. Now that the here is, we won the political struggle because that's the struggle we fought. What would I recommend you tonight? We took a program to Wall Street Project, called the Wall Street Project, because bankers were calling all the shots. It was on the Silicon Valley. Rainbow puts Wall Street, Silicon Valley. There are 186 board members, 3 African Americans, Facebook, Twitter, Apple, Microsoft, all that combined. 36 white women, 1 Latino. We challenged them. They said, well, we can't show you data because it gives competitive disadvantage, okay? So we bought shares of stock in them. We bought shares of stock in 25 companies. shareholder is different than the sharecropper. Bought shares of stock, went to the meeting as shareholders have the right to do. The Hewlett Packard meeting said, Madam Chairman, we're losing our profits. People that look at me with great hostility say, our, yeah, 100 largest cities, majority Black and brown. So if we're not investing and not developing, we're losing profit. So that we are losing 30% of our market. So the Black community represents market, money, talent, location, and growth. So if we're not investing in that market, we're losing growth. And the result was that at the shareholders meeting, there's always Financial Times and Reuters and all the big news agencies back there. So now we have 4 Blacks on the board at Hewlett Packard. We had none. Twitter now has one, Deborah Lee. Chairman of the board who succeeded Bill Gates, John Thompson is on the board. Jim Bell's on the board at Apple. Now we have a Black on the board of Facebook. That's different than politically, the politics had nothing to do with leveraging. So we can leverage our dollars as we leverage our votes. We vote every now and then, reluctantly. We spend lavishly all the time. Now, what I'm trying to say is that we're going to get 100 major corporations from America. Citigroup right on down. They're in New York. They're in Joburg. When they have this show, we're going to have a delegation there from South Africa and from North America. And our allies in London, the same allies that took to bring down political apartheid, London and America and South Africa, that same combination must now shift from the right to vote to the right to resource. So race separation has been won. Resource separation has not been fought. Race separation has been won. Resource separation has not been fought. So if we look at the top 100 public corporations, Dr. McGeezy, and buy a reasonable amount of stock in them here, Rainbow South Africa, a Rainbow USA, a Rainbow London, a Rainbow Britain. When the shareholders meet, we should be at the meeting discussing, we represent market, money, talent, location, and growth. If you're free politically, you accept all the burden of servicing without the capacity to serve people, they call you a crook because you get caught trying to take money. The fact of the matter is, no one endorses corruption. But the fact is, the people with the least amount of money get the most responsibility. So the leadership in South Africa with the most responsibility get the fewest resources. So the big investors now invest in they've invested in South Africa, but not your side of town. What side of town? My mind goes back to the stadium this past Saturday. There were about 10 white people there at the stadium. And they were working on TVs and stuff. You would think that it's still all black country. Can you imagine what the winning has done for South Africa? The South African investment that now does not face resistance from anti-apartheid is because of winning. New South African growth because she helped bring the curtain down. And so the makeup of the audience Saturday is a lot about who we actually are. Am I by myself here tonight? My last notion would be this. Race matters. In the end, character matters more. One day Jesus was asked the question, who is my neighbor? A Jewish man was walking down the street attending to his business, and 2 thieves robbed him who were also Jewish. And while he was lying there dying, he looked up and saw a man of his own religion, the rabbi, coming down the street with a Bible in one hand, prayer book in the other. He said he knew that was relief. The Bible, he went to the other side of the street and kept walking. He saw another brother of his, Levite, went to the other side of the street and kept walking. Another man from another country, worshiped God differently, another language. The Samaritan. He stopped and helped him up. So who is your neighbor? Is the guy who looked like you? Guy who next door to your house geographically? Or one who helped you when your back was against the wall? You know, caring matters. Caring matters. People want to care that you know. I went to university of Joburg. I went to the University of Harvard. People care that you, but they want to know that you care. Character matters. In one of our cases, when you read about the case of Rodney King being beaten in the street by some white police, and it was on camera, and the whole world saw it. Because a white photographer saw it, he could have said, I'm not going to expose it because he's black and I'm white. He could have said, I'm not going to expose it because he shouldn't have been in our neighborhood. He could have said all those police couldn't be wrong. But some mother's admonition about what's fair and what's right, some father's advice about what's good and what's just, touched him. He said it's not right to beat that man. Rodney King was not the hero. Rodney King was the victim. The hero was the white photographer. When the police were set free and there was a riot, blacks and browns exploded. A white man drove his truck to the ghetto and they snatched him out the truck and began to beat him. 4 blacks who did not know each other ran and saved him from them. And then took him to the hospital. One of those black affirmative action doctors performed surgery and saved his life. Beyond color, which is color matters. Culture matters. Character matters more. God bless you.